Good morning from New York. Today's subject, the love flow. The problem with the focus on trauma and the benefits of a comforting, empathetic awareness in inner communications. Well, the subject. Well, as soon as you start focusing on what went wrong with a person, there's all kinds of defensiveness that pops up. And if you understand the philosophy and the theory of inner mind communication, the love yoga, then you'd understand that that could cause a deepening of defensive triangulations that may keep a person from finding out who they really are um, and really connecting to themselves in a more full way, in a more integrated way, because it's just a deepening of defenses around uh, feeling what once was not pro-survival to feel. That sounds a little complicated, so I'll try to break that down a little. Um, when my father talked about what comforted him and helped him work through a loss, for instance, which is not the same, but close. Um, he was a dear lady friend of his, and a lot of people would come and say, "Oh, she's in heaven now," things like that, and that didn't work very well. But he said what really helped him was just a lady coming and lightly touching his shoulder and saying, "I'm sorry," with all the empathy that she felt for him. He felt it, and that helped him a lot with dealing with loss, which is part of the process of dealing with a trauma. And there's some bit of trauma there. A loss involves a certain amount of trauma, damaged faith and love, something dear to you taken away. And yeah, so when you look at it that way, you can see that unnecessary elaborations didn't work. And neither would focusing on the pain of his that was underlying his grief, um, the trauma of the loss itself. Where were you when you first heard blah blah blah? You can go on and on and on. And, this may have some kind of benefits, but you also run the risk of the person becoming very defensive about the whole thing, shutting down, or becoming worse. And so, yeah, so you backing up again, looking at the subject in another way. Um, the symbolization that takes place after a trauma, which is based on helplessness around vital needs that were not being met or were stripped away. Um, helplessness to express and to feel and to integrate an experience because of the intense anxiety that helplessness brings. Um, hmm. that's the pain of the helplessness, the intense anxiety, which can be life-threatening. So, you need that symbolization, that changing of need into something more attainable, or, or an experience into something that gives you greater safety. You need that kind of symbolizing in order to cope. And it's an automatic thing. It's not something you sit and decide to do. So it's not something you can decide to not do. So forget the willpower thing. It's just not going to work. Um, but you've got this kind of anxiety. So if you bring up the anxiety by talking about the pain of the trauma, or the fact of the trauma, you may cause the brain to create even more elaborate symbolic dodges away from what happened, instead of being able to feel it and resolve it. So that's the trouble with the trauma based approach, that professionals use. It's a medical model, but sometimes it's not good to take the patient and have them aware of each detail of what you're going to do in a surgery, for instance. I mean, I'm going to cut through here, and I'm going to go there. And some people will be a little comfortable with that, some may not. And it would be horribly painful to you, except for this drug that I'm going to put in you, which has these other side effects. And and here's the percentage of success with this surgery, and here's the small risk of death. Um, you know, that would not make for a good patient experience. So you want to say everything will be fine. Everything it's good. I've done this 1,000 times. It's routine surgery. You do things. That's what you would do, and then you've got a willing patient. Well, as soon as you start talking about trauma, or trying to tell the person that the whole goal of what you're doing is to take them to the trauma, or to mess around with that trauma, um, hmm, that that can cause what the brain does. It just says, "Okay, not again." Back to the survival memory. Um, that wasn't good then. It ain't good now. We're gonna, the brain just automatically, it's going to make a more complicated defense. Okay, so I can't be scared of rats anymore. um, because of this trauma that I had. Well, I can't, be avoiding rats. So maybe you take it. Those defenses go deeper into your body, into your biochemistry. And set up a kind of defense there that nobody would be aware of, and then you come away going, "Oh, this is science based." The person reports that they're feeling better, and if the whole picture were seen, and maybe they didn't, um, maybe you caused a deeper burying of that trauma, so that it's out of sight, out of mind, but its force is still present. this gets a little deep, but the symbolization, which is comforting to you uh, when you've had a traumatic experience, um, that's a survival coping mechanism that, that your brain did, and not an act of will. In one video, I was talking about the feeling comes first, and that's what kind of happened for my dad in that situation, in that story. The feeling came first, and then he was able to feel because of the strength of that empathy that was shown him, which points out the value of somebody who's empathetic and caring in a relationship, and that part of therapy could be very useful. But focusing on the trauma, you know, that's mm, that is very problematic. You really better know what you're doing. Focus on that. But the fact is that if you comfort from enough different perspectives, that symbology begins to erode gradually, and the feelings start to come up around it, you know, that you were not able to feel once upon a time. And then that processing can go forward where you begin to realize that, wow, that there was a need behind, uh, buried in that trauma, and it was not met. And so that's a loss now. Um, and then you can process that as uh, uh, through a grieving process. And that can be helpful from the therapeutic view. Tell someone how the stages of grief or something so they feel normal. That could be helpful. And then you move from the grief to the ability to forgive, more from your heart because you've let go. Um, you're able then to forgive. And after forgiving those involved, uh, then it begins to be a lot easier to feel the most terrible thing. And that's when, um, the hurting you hurt others, when you were a pariah, in a sense, kind of outcast from the caring circle, and that's pretty tough. Punishing attitudes ask you to go from this, you know, change immediately in an act of will, and it just doesn't work. It isn't going to work. You need that amazing grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saves a wretch like me. Um, so there you see the little bit of poison in the religion, the wretch like me had an ex-wife who disirritated. Ah, and point taken. Um, but the amazing grace, the surprising empathy, um, surprised by love. That that's a good thing. Um, oh, there are different kinds of empathy, which are actually ways of manifesting love and some acceptance and understanding of the other person. And those approaches are going to allow the individual to work more at their own pace and develop more slowly. Um, the difference, the medical model is a hard one to work around. Like I say, you better really know what you're doing if you're going to be doing something like that. Very few that I would trust with that. The other benefits of approaching it was a was an intent to comfort with with forms of caring, empathy, creative, and compassionate, and objective. The approach there um, has a big benefit for the individual without it takes the individual to their feelings in a safe way. Um, and meanwhile, it gradually erodes the power of the symbolic to hold back the feeling, but it's catching you. You're safe to express. And, and for the people who want spiritual growth without an inner mind communication, nonsense. You know, love from outside is fantastic. Really part of the whole process, certainly. But you have to have it happen inside yourself. It's like when you want to change someone's mind, you have to find a point of under, common understanding and agreement, and then from that comfort zone between yourselves, then you can inspire thinking, and and perhaps both of your minds will come out changed. But if you don't seek that common ground and you don't work from that, then there's little to no chance that you're going to change anybody's mind, yours or theirs, and that's a real problem. It's something we see in politics all the time. You know, attacking the other side. There are people on the other side. Little empathy. So I love the way Joe Biden handled some of the situations that he ran into during his speech. Two speeches now in which he ran into. Yeah, notable exchanges with people. Um, it was a tone that he had. It was an approach. It was affable. It used a little humor, which is more of a creative approach, and he sought some common ground, which is important, and a kind of compassionate approach. Uh, you know, and sort of, and the objective, that he used. Um, he was deft at using all of these abilities, which makes me a big fan of Joe. He's way far better at that than I am. He's amazing job, and love brings us together, and that's another benefit of the approach of using forms of empathy and awareness that are comforting, in an attempt to comfort um, by the individual themselves. Because who knows your comfort zone better than you? So, it's, and who can exercise your mind better than you? I mean, if you don't internalize a debate or an argument, have it happen inside your brain, you're not really engaged. and your mind isn't going to change. So I'm unlike Joe. I'm not on the top of the game all the time, and I'm sorry if I have not been as clear and as in my attempts to communicate these points. But I'm hoping on your genius to see past all that and understand what I'm trying to say. Um, but yeah, another benefit of doing the empathetic awareness approach is, you know, and with comfort, the yoga of love, the internal process. Another benefit is that, you know, you may have things that in a punishing world society you really don't want to, you know, and it might be just minor things, but things that other people would hate you for. Um, that would fire up a lot of the punishing attitudes in your world, and yeah, those secrets will remain yours, and you just can't get that in a therapeutic situation. When you're talking trauma and or severe symptoms of this sort of thing, you're kind of dabbling around close to saying that you need psychic surgery, someone from outside going into you, and you know, if I can do anything to avoid surgery, um, I need a haircut. Uh, yeah, you do that a long time ago. I watched, but hey, they're expensive. I'm a tightwad. I'm poor. So anyway, well, you don't want to do that. You don't want to. You want to keep your secrets, and you to the point of the psychic surgery level. Hmm. That should be your last option, not your first. And does that mean that somebody is, well, what part is can the ordinary individual do in the process of healing using this yoga of love? Well, which is spiritual but not religious. Religion has a lot of good in it, there's a lot of bad in it. Spiritual just throws out the bad, the silly, the useless, and focuses on um, what's important in your personal growth and your ability to integrate your experiences in life, good or bad. And so the approach of the yoga of love is integrates a lot of good stuff. You know, there's a lot of good stuff that we blocked because of a lack of the ability to integrate. So anyway, these are just some of the points that I wanted to make, and probably you have a lot of questions. You can ask your questions, and I will probably respond. I'm an old guy here, and I have a little time, so I'll respond to your comments. Um, yeah, what can you do? Again, Well, you need someone who's practiced the things that I'm talking about. Some some level of practice, um, and so that you're not dealing with somebody who's trying to take you somewhere that they've never been. Uh, that's important. Yeah. Would you? I would, if I was climbing a mountain, I would want a guy who's been there and one that can be willing to go up the mountain with me. So you definitely want that. Um, that's training. Training someone to be able to use what they've got, and that has a special benefit aside from anything called therapeutic or the medical model approach uh, to trauma. Yeah, there's a special value. You can use, it's not to say you can't use that other approach, but you really got to be careful about whether the other person is actually qualified. And I've not had good experience in that regard, except for one lady who, yeah, followed training that she got from a fellow that the rest of the psychologists said was a quack. I think it's the other way around. But then all the evidence is piling up in favor of my point of view, too. If you want to check that out, go to theprimalmind.com, where some of these issues are addressed more astutely than I can. But yeah, you can help each other. You can. But only in the sense that you train someone to be able to do the process. And, if they need a compassionate listening ear or presence, then you can do that. But there it starts to be, you need a very experienced person to sit for you in that case. And yeah, a very experienced person. And they're remember, the other person trying to help you has got their own issues. Everybody has issues, no matter what their level of education or whatever. And so you need to work around that. You need to really be careful. And you should make sure that you're comfortable with anybody who's going to do the medical or therapeutic model with you. But but the spiritual approach, the way of mystics for thousands of years, well, that works. And it's at the very root of spiritual but not religious. And I think that's where the world is going. Uh, what do you think? As I like to say at the end of my ramblings, this is unedited, just straight out. I like to use the word namaste because that means that the love flow in me is, that I'm aware of is honoring that love flow in you and the potential of that. And which the Buddhists call the Buddha nature. The Christians call it Christ nature. So, what the Hindus call it, my, the best word might be Paramatma. Um, anyway, um, what's reaching to that blissful, wonderful inner artist in whatever way that you do. That's that's a beautiful thing. And the word namaste is a recognition of your power to do that. And your oneness with all things in the universe. So it's namaste is an honoring of that. In both the giver and the receiver. So it joins us together. So as I like to say, I'm a big ham, and I love to sing my Irish blessing to anybody who has tolerated my video to this point. If you don't know my Irish blessing, I know you didn't watch the whole video. If you want to subscribe, please. Do. Switch you on. Anyway, um, I so I like to just do at the end of my videos uh, is to sing you an Irish blessing. May the rose rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rain falls soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Yeah, or her hand. So, namaste, y'all. Make a great day, and remember the love, though. Know that it's inside you. And the other benefit of this approach is that it helps you with your self-confidence and your personal empowerment. Yeah. Standing on your own. Yeah, I did it myself. Well, the kid in you needs to be loved and cared for, and I hope you do that today, and do that for the kid and everybody around you. And, again, namaste.